All right, good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight for a live stream, really. First live stream on my channel involving the. Ugh, that's. I got multiple things in my ears here. There we go. Live stream for the 6000 XP. So I actually have a couple guests with me that we'll bring in. I think one of them's having some technical difficulties right now, but we've got Rodney Hunt on here.
What's up?
I'm sure if you followed my channel, you've definitely seen Rodney's. He's got a lot of EG4 content. He's been doing a lot recently on some live streams and showing some new products. So, Rodney, why don't while we're waiting on Eric, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody how you're using the 6000 XPs at your place?
All right, so I got yeah, I'll go ahead and just share my screen, I guess. I got three of the 6000 XPs. Basically, I'm running my whole house with that. And for anybody that doesn't know, you probably don't, but I have a pretty big family, and my kids are homeschooled, so they're at home all the time. And basically, these three are running my house pretty much all the time. I do go on the grid sometimes. My stuff is completely off grid. I don't have grid power going into them. I just kind of backfeed the system. Let me go back to me for a second. I just kind of backfeed my stuff because I don't have any. I have my stuff basically outside in a building, so it's not near my grid panel. So it just makes it easier for me to backfeed it into my house and run off grid all the time. And then when I don't have enough sun or my batteries are getting low, basically I can just turn those off and turn the grid power back on to part of my house and run it off the grid. And the things have been running outstanding. Let me go ahead and show you something else. Um, Let me see here. As you can see right here on the monitor, it shows you I've done 20 megawatts through these 6000 XP since I've installed them. They've been installed for about a year now, and I could have did more than that, but sometimes I'm running my house on the grid, and I should be running it off grid because I just forget to turn it back on. But the thing is doing very, very well, and I definitely highly recommend them for somebody that's trying to look into getting into solar. And so we'll go back to Adam. If anybody's got any questions about them, hey, just let me know.
Yeah, that's very cool seeing how much you have actually running through those three inverters. So it looks like Eric says that he's having problems getting on the guest link here. I know he was having some problems with his internet connection. Uh,
All right. If you want to send him that again, I'll go ahead and talk for a minute. We'll go ahead and say what's going on to everybody that's actually in the stream. Retro Z Machine. Hey, welcome to the stream. Richard, John. Hey, what's going on? And it looks like we probably have some questions in here. And if you do have a question, go ahead and put a Q, in the front of it. And we know it's a question. It's just easier to see while we're doing the live stream. And so says, can you run, Richard asks, can you run three 6000 XPs with two in one place and the third one in a different place in the house and separate battery banks? So if you're trying to do that, I wouldn't have them running basically the same load panel. It would have to be on like two different load panels. I don't think you can run it at the same time. Let's see here. Adam, you got anything on that? Oh, you still trying to get him worked out with the stream.
yeah, still trying to see if I can get Eric on here.
We got Randall Perry in the stream. Hey, what's going on? So we're having a little bit of technical difficulties for anybody that's just joining us. And if you are just joining us, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you want to share out the stream for Adam, go ahead and share this thing out so we can get enough people in here, to get more information put out, to get more people on solar, because that's the goal. More people being self-sufficient and being able to take care of themselves. At least for me, that's the reason I have my channel. For anybody that doesn't know me, Rodney Hunt. Let's see what else we got down here. And if you got 17 people watching, remember, guys, if you got any questions, go ahead and put that in the comments. Put a Q in the front, and we'll try to answer anything you got. But let's go ahead and just talk about the 6000 XPs, why he's doing that. Basically, it's an off-grid only inverter, which that means is, you don't have any grid interactivity, and you can't feed back to the grid or sell back to the grid or anything like that. but you can have grid power going into your 6000 XPs. So, it's not going to be completely off grid all the time if you want to have the grid power going in. Now, my setup is not that way. I run mine completely off grid, or I turn it off and turn the grid power on. So, but if you want to, you can put grid power into it and have a 50 amp bypass. So if anybody wants to know about a few of the specs on there, of course, this is a split phase inverter. So you got 120 and 240, and you have 9,000 watts max AC in. It's got the 50 amp basically generator and grid AC bypass. And basically you have continuous output of 25 amps per leg. And I've did a couple of videos testing some of that stuff out. If y'all are interested in that, y'all can go search them and find them. And looks like we might have another question. It says, Richard says, do I need to come with all three? So, yeah, if you're putting 3 inverters, yeah, I would put them all together and going into one panel off of one battery bank. And I'm not sure about putting it in 2 separate places, because I would want them all communicating. Because if they're not communicating, they might not be able to run together. It might be off. The phases might be off just a little bit, and it might cause some kind of interference and may not work. I'm not saying somebody wouldn't try it and just see what happens, but I'm pretty sure it wouldn't work. Let's see what else we got for the specs. So your solar, you got a couple of MPPTs on there for anybody that doesn't know. And your max current on one is 17 amps, and your max on the other one is 25 amps. And basically these things can use up to 8,000 watts per MPPT. And you can put max solar of 10,000 watts on them, but it's just not going to be able to use 10,000. You'll be able to use 8,000 at the maximum. And let's see here. Let's welcome to the stream, Off Grid Wannabe. He's got a question. Do you split your AC off with a sub panel, or do you use CTs? So I have a sub panel basically in my building outside that I put all my inverters into, and then I have a breaker going from that panel going into another sub panel in my house. I have 2 panels in my house, my main panel and a sub panel. And then basically I just backfeed. And so I turn the grid power off on my main panel, and then I backfeed into my sub panel, and it goes to my main panel as well. So that's how I'm doing mine. Not the recommended way. I would recommend putting it right next to your main panel, put grid power going into your inverters, and then, having your bypass on there, your interlock switch for your grid power and your inverters. And that way you're not running both of them at the same time, and it's safe, and it's by code and all that stuff. I just did mine totally different because I wanted my stuff out in the building. So it's a little different than most people's going to have. But that's a good question. And Retro Z Machine says, length of the interconnecting data cable would probably be an issue. Yeah, if you're trying to separate those inverters and they're really far apart, you'd have to make a cable and everything. And that probably more work than it's worth at that point. I would just put them next to each other myself.
We're getting close, I think.
All right, they're still working on some technical difficulties. Adam is trying to bring Eric in. This is not my stream. I'm just trying to help him out. Everybody
you take it, Rodney. You're experienced with this stuff right now, so.
So, hey, we'll just keep talking about the 6000 XP while these guys are working on a little bit of technical difficulties that we're having. Remember, if you got any questions, go ahead and put a Q in the comments and then write your question down, and we'll try to get to it as soon as we can. All right, and then we're talking about the PV input. And basically your voltage DC is going to be between 100 and 480 volts for those MPPTs for the 6000 XPs, for anybody that does not know. But you might not want to go above 385 volts DC, since you're trying to stay in that MPPT range when your stuff's going to be the most efficient that it can be. Hey, look who it is. Eric, can you hear us? He's back on the stream.
Oh, man. Sometimes things just go like this. I mean, we were on for 30 minutes and everything was great. And then I decided to get off VPN so that I could actually have a faster internet connection. And then I guess I ticked off the IT guys over at Ecamm, and so I've restarted the computer, the router, the modem, the browsers multiple times. We're here.
All right, there we go.
Welcome to the
Good
stream.
to see you guys.
Welcome to the stream, Eric. So let's introduce Eric from East Texas Homestead. He's got a channel on Well, you do quite a bit over there, don't you? You got a lot of sustainability. You've got a lot of self-reliant stuff over there, plus some solar stuff. So why don't you introduce yourself, talk about your channel a bit, and then if you can even, tell people how you're using the 6000 XPs in your home.
Yeah, very cool. So, Eric, East Texas Homestead. So I started off kind of on this homestead journey, 2010, 2011, somewhere around there. And we decided to basically just move out into the country and bought a $3,500 double wide and spent 4 years renovating it. So that was a lot of fun. We did that a lot of late nights and weekends. And now we live out here, kind of outskirts of a decent sized city in East Texas. And we've got, the goats and chickens and garden and dogs and 4 boys. And yeah, we love being out here. We love living the as sustainable life as we can. Of course, it's iterative. We're always kind of building upon last year. And then that kind of led us to solar. So we do solar. I do a lot of stuff. In fact, I just filmed some stuff on propane heat because as much as I love solar, I love propane for actually staying warm. So especially when I'm away from the house. So yeah, we do all sorts of stuff. But this has been my passion for a long time, last couple of years, as these guys, and so it's so much fun to see what you can do. And it's like this build your own adventure thing. You get in there and just build it the way that it works for you. And I think this system's been rebuilt 4 times, and I'm about to do it again. So yeah, that's me. And I'm glad y'all are here. Thanks, Adam.
Well, thanks, Eric. About to redo it again. That sounds like a interesting plug for your channel because you want to make sure that you can follow along for his rebuild. And I'm sure the way Rodney works on his stuff, I mean, you got a whole building dedicated to just this stuff, right? Don't you?
Oh, yeah. So this building right here is just for YouTube/solar. It's ended up being half of it storage now, but you know how it goes. Every time you get a building, it's going to get full of junk. And I got that half over there is just my junk, I guess. But yeah, I'll have some new stuff coming here soon as well.
Oh, very cool. So yes, make sure you're subscribed to both channels if you want to follow along and see some of the new stuff that they're going to be messing with. And again, thank you, Rodney, for jumping in while we were trying to figure out some of those technical glitches with
oh yeah, no problem.
For it being my first live stream, I keep looking at it like, all right, what did I do? What button did I push that I kicked Eric out?
Oh yeah.
So, as Rodney said, we're looking at the 6000 XP, and I am trying to remember all of my little buttons that I have here. So a 6,000 watt inverter, dual MPPTs, 120, 240 split volt inverter with a built-in battery charger. I believe the max voltage, what's the range? Like 120 to 480, isn't it?
It says 100 now.
100, okay. And then 5-year warranty, UL 1741. Let's see here. So, Make Money with John 101 had a question. What's the maximum amount of solar panels you can use and max kilowatt in batteries you can have on one unit? Well, Retro Z Machine actually answered that in the chat already, but the maximum solar panels, you'd kind of have to base that off of the specs of the panels themselves. Actually, that actually brings up a good question for you guys. What do you guys have solar-wise running into your 6000 XPs? Are you using, because you've each got 3 now, so are you running solar into each one? Do you have it all running into one? What do you got?
I have some running into all 3 of mine, and so I think I have, man, I'm gonna have to think about it now. It may be, I can't remember if it was 13 or 14 kilowatts at this point. I had took some panels down, so I can't remember exactly. So one of my MPPTs is not being used on my third inverter. The other two inverters are basically completely full, and I usually make anywhere between 70 to 100 kilowatts a day. So I got a decent size array, and then I have 85 kilowatts of hours of batteries on my 6000 XP. So you can have a pretty decent sized battery bank. I actually need some more batteries for the winter, but
We always
I'll
need
probably
more
be upgrading that as
batteries.
well. Oh yeah.
What do you got, Eric?
Yeah, at the moment, 0. I have 0 PV coming in. So, well, I say that.
You gotta
I
tell.
actually
You gotta
have
tell
I've
us
got
why.
one.
Yeah,
You
you
gotta
gotta
tell us
tell
why.
them
You
why,
gotta tell us.
though.
You gotta tell them why.
Okay. All right, I've got one string going into this middle unit, wherever it is. I'll twist it around. Yeah, it's this one. Sorry, I'm too close to this stuff, and I can't actually see what I'm doing. So yeah, I've got one string going in here, and it has like 12 old panels on it, leaning up against a fence, and that's it. But I've got, as far as battery capacity, I have 30 kilowatt hours. Well, I was going to switch over. My Ecamm Live virtual, or my virtual cam died, so I can't switch these cameras around. Over here, I've got I guess 35 kilowatt hours in the server rack, and then over here I've got the wall mount battery with another 15 kilowatt hours. So, and this is a completely different system over here, and that one basically feeds these throughout the day. So that's kind of a different project I'm working on. But the main reason why I don't have any solar panels is because I utilize cheap, actually free energy at night to fill up the batteries, and then I use it all day long, and that works almost every day, unless we're just like really hammering the electricity. So it works out well.
Cheap electricity at night. Boy,
Where's that
nice
video, man? Where's that video?
Yeah.
I know. It's got to come. I keep saying I'm going to do it, and I haven't done it yet.
I'm telling you, that video would be huge. I'm just telling you, you need to go ahead and make that happen.
Know.
So
I know.
For those of you that don't know, this is the third live stream that's been done. I missed the second one. We did the first one, boy, it was 3 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when Eric revealed that he had this cheap electricity at night aspect, and he's got even the two of us sitting on the edge of our seats waiting for this video. And
yeah, okay, so
I've been waiting.
Yeah, there's been a lot that's happened in the last
yeah.
couple of months, and
life
I keep meaning to get back to it, but it's coming. It'll come because it's one that I want to do. Like, I want it to be a banger, as the kids would call it, right? I want to make sure that it's like done perfect, but I really just need to get it out and make it happen. So I'm letting perfect be the enemy of the good.
Yeah. I mean, I'll speak for myself, but I know that as a person that has to make these videos, you're never truly happy with some of that stuff. But we're kind of getting a little off topic from the 6000 XP that people are probably here to learn about. So from my standpoint right now, today I had, because I'm constantly moving stuff around. Today I had one string coming into mine that has 7 455 watt panels connected to it. But I was telling Rodney before the stream started, from November to February, the sun is low enough in my yard that the neighbor's trees block almost all direct sunlight on my panels. Yeah. And so I'm constantly trying to move things around to try and eke out as much as possible on the occasional sunny days that we get here in Michigan. And from the battery bank standpoint, I'm moving stuff around a lot, but it's kind of a communal bank that I have 3 different systems tied to right now, and I think I'm at 72 kilowatts of storage. So from the storage standpoint, it's really, you're limited based on how much you can connect. I mean, you can keep connecting more batteries. You just need to do it properly, safely, but there's really no limit to how many batteries you can have in your bank. Now, I know there are limits if you're trying to daisy chain them from the communication standpoint, because you guys both have server racks with the life powers, or the what's the other kind that they have?
The wall mounts or whatever.
Yeah.
Power Pros.
Yeah, the Power Pros.
Okay, so I got 85 kilowatts of basically the server racks over there on the 6000 XPs, and in here on the 12K in this shop, I guess I have another 35 kilowatt hours of batteries, and one of those is the indoor power wall, and some of them are one of them's a Sun Gold Power wall mount. The rest of them are server racks. I have to look. So I have a lot more. I had like 120 kilowatt hours of batteries for my, I guess, needs. And people were asking in the comments, I'll go ahead and answer, why do I need that size of batteries? So I have 10 kids, 9 of them still living at home, and my kids are homeschooled. Our washer and dryer runs all the time. I'm literally 6 days a week. That thing's running from in the morning till midnight, all day long. That thing burns down some power, that dryer. So we cook all the time. I got an electric vehicle, so I charge that now with the 12K in here off my building. So that's why I got the 35 kilowatt hours of batteries in here. So I use quite a bit of power, more than probably a lot of people, I guess. We don't have a huge house or anything. It's just I have a lot of people. So.
A lot of people in the house. Yeah, you're going to have those kids leaving
Rodney,
lights on. And
yeah, how many kilowatt hours do you typically go through a day? My average is about 85 kilowatt hours between the free energy I use at night and then storing it in the batteries and then using that during the day.
I'm guessing with the electric car stuff, it's probably about anywhere from 100 to 120 now, but I'm not really, I hadn't calculated it lately, I guess, because I got the systems kind of separated, so I'd have to look, but it's probably somewhere in that 100 to 120 range at least. Probably some days more than that when it starts getting very cold and the heat's running and all that. All my stuff is electric, so electric everything. So I'm sure we can go up from there.
Man, and I thought that I used a lot when I had like 40 or 50 in a day.
40 or 50? If I use 40 or 50, I would be off grid all the time.
Yes.
Yeah. And I still don't have enough. I mean, it's you still end up, like you said, the electric appliances, especially those big resistive loads. I mean, my water heater, 4,500 watts when that thing runs, that just, you can just literally sit there and watch the gauge drop when you have that thing turned on. You know, somebody's taking a shower, you get that teenage boy that jumps in the shower and is like, I'm just going to take a nice long shower. And it's like 20 minutes later and that water heater's still running.
Oh my gosh. Yes. We've got one of those. It'd be an hour and a half. It's like, is he still in there? Yeah. All right.
All shriveled up. Yep.
I got a 21-year-old that's like that. He's been gone for the last couple of weeks. He just got his CDL and he's been all over the country. So he just got back, a day ago. So he'll be home for a few days before he goes back out. But he will burn down some water taking a shower too. I don't know what he's doing. They're like, man, get out of there.
Yep. One last thing with John's question regarding the maximum number of solar panels. You have to look at the specific specifications of those panels, the max VOC, and then depending on if you have them in a series or a parallel string, that will either add up the voltage, or if you're paralleling the panels, that's going to add up the current and the amperage. And so you have to look at those numbers, but you have to make sure that you stay underneath that 480 maximum volts of the MPPTs on the 6000 XPs.
Yeah, usually the wattage is fine going over whatever's rated for. It's the volts and the amps that's going to destroy your equipment. So you definitely want to make sure that's right. And it's also based off your weather. So if during the summer you have 470 volts, when the winter comes around, it's going to go up higher and it's going to be above the maximum. So you need to do the calculations. There's little things online that'll tell you, and you'll be able to calculate what your cold weather voltage will be. So just do your research and make sure it's low enough where it's not going to be over in amps or voltage.
Yeah, you'll want to look up what's it called, temperature coefficient, and then, like Rodney said, you got to make sure that you stay under that threshold. For current, a lot of these inverters, I don't remember, are the 6000 XPs at 18 amp max? Rodney, I think you had the spec sheet in front of you.
It's 17 on one of them and 25 on the other one.
Okay, so most have a little wiggle room from the current standpoint, that whatever the spec sheet says, that's like the number that it's going to start clipping at. And they'll have a little tolerance above that. Not too much, because you start getting too high above that and you're going to just cook something. But voltage is usually that hard number. You go over that and you're probably looking to replace something. Let's see. Looking at the chat again, Chris, and I'll apologize now. I'm probably gonna butcher somebody's names or some of their usernames, so I'm gonna try to not do that. But Chris had a question. If I'm running two 6000 XP inverters and one fails, will the other one pick up the load, assuming the loads don't exceed that 6,000 watts?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I'm going to piggyback on Chris's question. If you've got 3, like you guys do, can you turn one off without it killing the entire system?
As long as it's not your main inverter, yes.
Okay.
If something happens with the communications, like if you're using the communication with the battery and you turn that inverter off, I've had my other ones, they turn off because they're like, oh, I don't know what's going on. So as long as it's not the main inverter, I haven't had a problem with the second or the third one turning off. I don't know about Eric, but.
Yeah, I don't know that I've specifically tried that, but there have been times where I'll just go over and just start flipping them off just to see what'll happen. And I will say if I turn off the battery breaker to one of these, it automatically flips to bypass. Now, I've never had it fail to bypass and like the house go dark. So if you're grid connected, since I've had these inverters, I think only one time just once have I had the house just go dark for like 3 minutes and then everything rebooted and came back on. Now, back when I had the old 6000 EXs, that happened like 5 times a day. So that was super frustrating. And but yeah, no, so you can turn them off. And now the interesting thing about being your main inverter also with battery communications, yeah, there's clearly that. But if I turn that one off and then if I turn them all off and then I turn this one over here on first, then this one will be the master that's communicating with things. At least that's been my experience. Have you guys noticed that as well? Or am I seeing weird things?
I think I can't remember for sure. See, I don't have grid power going into mine, so when that main one turns off, it turns all my stuff off. So okay. I guess it depends on your setup. If you have grid power going into it, you don't have that problem. But me, I do if I turn that one off. So I've never did it and made the other one turn on as the master, because usually I have the communication cable connected to that one, and you'd have to move stuff around. But I don't know, maybe it's different when you have grid connection. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I only have the one, so when I flip it off, everything goes off.
Go ahead and get you a couple of more, man. Go ahead.
I need more room. I don't have enough space for any of this stuff. Apparently, I have to buy another building like you, Rodney, and drop it in the backyard.
Yeah, and that's one of the things about it is like, so the 12,000 XP is coming out, and I'm really excited about that. And I love redundancy. I just absolutely love redundancy. So I like, 2 is 1, 1 is none, 3 is for me. That was one of the main things that I was looking for, was like, I want fallback units so that, if 2 of these things go out, I can still run my deep well pump and pull up water that there's not a generator that I could buy that can pull that thing, but one of these will. So I like that. The odds of, two going out and one, I don't know. I could see one going down or whatever, but if I have everything packed into a single unit, that bothers me a little bit. It doesn't mean I'm not going to try out the 12,000 XP.
Oh yeah,
but we'll see. We'll see how things go.
I got one on order, so I'll definitely be testing that out.
Same here, buddy. I'm loving it.
I'll be honest. I have not actually looked at any of the specs of the 12,000 XP.
It is pretty crazy.
I've only heard, the mention of it from different folks, and the only thing that has caught my attention is when you hear 12,000 XP, you're like, oh, it's going to be two 6,000 XPs in one box. But I've heard a lot of people say it's more than that. So, I don't know. Wait and see what happens when you guys get yours.
Oh, yeah.
Watching your channel.
For sure.
That kind of stuff.
Got a few more people in the stream there.
Yeah.
Jim, he's a moderator for my channel, so definitely see him Jim. All the time. Then we got Art, Bob. Who else we got on here? I don't want to mess somebody's name up. THAI. I'm terrible with names, so.
Yeah. Let's see here. John said he just ordered a DIY 15 kilowatt hour battery, so that's going to be fun.
Yeah, cool.
Let's see. Art has a question. How come my inverter says SRA 40 at night and SRA CO in the day? Is that a error code on the front of the 6000 XP?
I'm not sure about that. Let me see here. My stuff doesn't work, so I don't look at it that much now, I guess. Oh, what am I doing? Messing my camera up. Let's see here.
Yeah, Art is that specifically for the? I mean, I know that some of the letters and stuff are kind of hard to read on the display.
I'm trying to see if I can find anything of that in the manual, but I don't know offhand.
All right, so he says no, it's not. Let's see here. I gotta scroll back through. Bob asked if we sent out a notice for the live stream. I know we posted on our community pages that the live stream was coming. I think we all did it on Monday, and then we did it again today. But I know that YouTube, for whatever reason, maybe it's just because our channels are, smaller, but YouTube just doesn't seem to share our community posts very well.
No, yeah, I'll get like 6 views on a community post with, 18,000 subscribers. So I don't know.
Yeah,
they don't push it.
We tried to get it out. I know from my standpoint, I'm trying to, if I'm doing something like this, I want to get it out at least a week in advance so that people can know that it's coming up. But unfortunately, I haven't had a video release to talk about it in the last week. It's still sitting in my editor. Let's see here. Bob's got 3 6000 XPs or 3 EG4 indoor batteries. No solar yet, but it is grid connected. His issue, okay. When hot water kicks on, all the 6000 XPs go to standby and it throws an overload error.
Yeah, that should not happen.
No.
All right, so again, I only have one, but the first thing that comes to mind when I start hearing overloads like this is and let me see if I can actually bring it up here. In the monitoring website.
Oh, yeah.
Where is it? down the discharge settings. So discharge current limit. When you add multiple inverters, this value doesn't change on its own, but you need to increase it. So 140 is for one inverter. 280 would be for two inverters. All right, somebody do the math. What's 3? 140 times 3.
I don't do math live.
So that would be the first thing that would come to my mind.
What is that, 420, or am I wrong? I don't know. What'd you say, 140?
Yeah, 140 times 3.
Oh, man.
I was waiting for the
comments.
I
thought all that was set automatically. Settings. Yeah, I was going to look at mine as well. Also, make sure that you have all your firmware up to date.
On all 3 of them, right? Oh,
yeah, plus your batteries
too. Yeah.
Yeah, everything. Let's see.
Yeah, because these guys both have 3 of those set up.
On my discharge control, I don't have anything set in that entire area. In fact, that wasn't even an option whenever I set mine up. I don't believe. So mine's just
saying 140, but mine's saying 140, but I don't know if that's for one inverter or all of them. It may be different if I actually go look on the unit than, looking on the app.
Yeah. I know that I've heard from other folks, like looking on the forums and stuff, that's like one of the biggest culprits when somebody says that an overload's happening in multiple inverter scenarios.
Because I know for sure that on my inverters for the solar,
I've got mine set to 500.
I had to increase it for the solar input because it wouldn't charge the batteries or something like that, or all the PV wouldn't come in. And I was like, what's going on? And so I had to take it up to combine them all 3 of them, but I did it on the unit, not with the app. So probably the same thing.
So
like Eric said it was 500.
I would take a look at those and those specific settings and see what those are set at. And then, like Eric said, make sure your firmware is up to date on all of your different components. Let's see here.
That's frustrating, though. Yeah, and definitely get on the phone with support, because that's not supposed to happen.
Amps on my Emporia show. Oh, so this is Bob continuing his thought. Amps on my Emporia show only 30 amps. Shouldn't the XP give me 75? Well, 25
so I've
is
pulled
the output max, right? From the AC side?
20 for a single one, yeah. And I've hit 50 amps on a single unit and not had any issues. So, I mean, that was just for a brief moment. That was the inrush. But yeah.
Yeah, the surge on these is pretty crazy too, I think. And even, didn't they just increase the surge a little bit? Or at least how much it can surge in the last, 3 months?
I've seen that it's changed a couple of times, but I haven't really looked to go, okay, did they upgrade it or downgrade it? Because it seems like it's kind of moved around a couple of times.
Yeah, you got to find that sweet spot of, from the hardware that you've got. But that's kind of the beauty of software too, is it can be really flexible. You put the hardware out, and as long as your hardware has the capacity and the capability to do something, one little 0 change or one little 1 change, and all of a sudden you've got more power that you can utilize and access.
Yeah. And new features.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Okay, so speaking of features, so within the last 2 months, they released an update for the generator port, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which now allows you to AC couple through the generator port, or charge from 120 volt generators?
Yeah, that's huge.
Yep. Yeah.
And smart loads. I was playing around with the smart loads yesterday because somebody had a question on one of the Facebook groups. And so I'm like, I've never messed with it before, so how does it all work? And so I'm messing with it and making little changes in the settings, and
Yeah, tell us about that. Like what? Because I haven't looked at it at all.
All right, so let me jump back over here. So on the maintenance page, if you scroll down, one thing you need to make sure of is you need to be on the old settings page. They do have a new one under this working mode. Oh. I knew it was going to time out on me in the middle of the live stream. They do have a new settings page that it seems like they're working on redesigning and reorganizing everything.
Yeah.
But you need to make sure that you're on the old settings page because that the smart load stuff isn't on that page yet. At least it wasn't yesterday when I was looking. But if you scroll down to this discharge setting, so the smart load, the generator, and the AC coupling features all utilize that generator breaker or port on the inverter.
Okay.
And you can actually come in here. You can only enable one at a time, but you can enable this smart load and then tell it once it reaches this state of charge or this voltage, I want you to turn that breaker on and start outputting power to that breaker. And then once your state of charge drops below a certain level or your voltage drops below a certain level, it will turn that off. And then they've even added these features to where if you have grid coming into the inverter, you can mark this so that it'll always stay on when the grid is connected to the inverter. And if your grid goes away, say the grid goes down, then it will start looking at these state of charge settings.
So that's exporting through the gen port? Am I hearing that right?
Yeah, it's outputting power. So think of it like, was it Bob was talking about the water heater?
Yeah, or EV,
Or Rodney, your EV. Yeah, you could wire your EV charger to that port. And if your battery state of charge drops below, if we look at this page, 77%, then it'll just turn the EV charger off. And then once your battery recharges up to 86 and passes 86, then all of a sudden, it'll let you start charging your EV again.
Dang, that's cool. Like, I had no idea that was there. That was totally worth streaming, coming in, being part of this.
Hey, and the Grid Boss is doing a lot of those same things, but it just has a lot of ports on it that do that. So I was looking into that. That thing looks cool. I might have to get one.
That's got 3 separate smart ports on it. Or is it 4?
4. It has 4. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now I know we've got more questions, but I do want to jump real quick to AC. Actually, no, I don't want to take the questions. Sorry, I'm trying to ask my own questions.
I'll tell you, I haven't done anything with the AC coupling.
Okay.
I haven't either.
I know that you can only charge with the generator or AC couple or use the smart loads one at a time.
I guess my question was, so here's a real quick scenario of what I'm thinking. So I need to turn my phone on, do not disturb. So I've got, just like Rodney, I've got the 12,000 XP coming. And if I set it right over here on this wall mount battery, and I want to pull from that and like basically connect the 2 units together, what I've been doing over here with this, I guess it's a Sun Gold power unit, is basically I've been using that to get my charge inverter to pull energy out of that battery to put it over here. I've had lots of problems with that. It hasn't worked. The charge inverter is great. Sun Gold power unit, yeah. But outside, I saw they're like, when's that video coming out? Like, sometime. So it's coming out, but sometime. So if I set up the 12,000 XP over there with AC coupling, I can essentially push the two together to where they are running on the same, like it's all like interacting together, right? Like I'm still trying to wrap my head around it because it's such a new thing that I haven't really messed with.
So
any insight?
I haven't done anything with AC coupling, but I'm pretty sure you have to have a specific PV inverter for the AC coupling, because what it ends up doing is it looks at the frequency of the AC power, and that determines whether or not it pushes power over the AC lines. And I don't think that the hybrid inverters themselves, I could be completely wrong, and somebody could correct me, but I don't think the hybrid inverters have the ability to frequency shift like that, like an AC, a PV inverter can do it.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. So that's where I'm like, I haven't really looked into it. I just kind of started to see, bits and pieces.
I was thinking you could AC couple on the 12K and the 18K. I thought you could. I mean, maybe I'm completely wrong, but I was thinking you could, and you go into that generator or whatever it is port now because they updated it. If not, you can get that grid boss, and that does all that. You can hook up all the different inverters to it on the smart ports, and then you hook up your hybrid inverters to the inverter ports. And then if it needs to take power out, it's got a relay to let power go out to something or let it come in. So that would definitely work in your situation with these different inverters.
But the AC coupling is receiving the power from a PV inverter. It's not allowing the frequency shifting to happen.
I see.
So I don't know that, like, you need something like a Fronius inverter. That's a PV inverter. Like, they're grid-tied inverters. I know that term kind of confuses people a lot. I look at, these kind of inverters as grid-connected versus grid-tied. But the grid-tied ones actually interact with the grid and can frequency shift to stop.
So you're talking about like micro inverters and stuff like that?
Yes. Yeah, kind of. So I think that's where the AC coupling comes in, where it can pull power from those dedicated PV inverters. And then they can shift the frequency to tell those PV inverters, all right, stop sending me power. You'll have to use your contacts and see. Have them explain it to you. And then you can come and correct me.
I'm sure you're on the money with that, man. So
yeah,
appreciate it.
All right. So let's see here. Let's jump back over to our comments here. I got to see where I'm at. All right. So Jim says that I need, I need to save up and get the Grid Boss and Flex Boss combo. I need space for that stuff first. What most people don't know anymore, if you followed my channel for a long time, let me see if I can actually bring this up real fast, but where is it? This curtain over here to the left is just a black sheet that I put up to hide all the nasty plumbing and well and water heater from being in every video like it used to be years and years ago. And until I can relocate all of that stuff to the other side of the room, I'm pretty much tapped out on space unless I pull a Rodney and buy another building for my backyard.
And I should have bought a bigger one.
Eric, your stuff's in a shed, right? Or a barn?
Yeah. I've got a 12, not 12. I think it's an 18 by 24 barn with a loft, and it looks like a barn, but it was one in like the Lowe's or Home Depot parking lot, and they had it 50% off. So I was like, I can't buy the material to build that. So
y'all can
y'all can bring it out. And then I've sectioned off about a third of it, and that's what I'm in right now. So the rest of it is just tools and, just storage. But yeah, that's this is my space, and it's way not enough. I've got to, we're gonna have to do something soon.
Yeah,
we all need like an 80 by 100 building.
Oh yeah,
that's right. Just like batteries, you can't have enough space.
That's right.
I got enough inverters to do everything that I want. I do not have enough batteries.
I know when I first started my solar experience, I had my stuff out in the barn, and it's not very insulated. I have to deal with something that you guys don't, and that's freezing cold winters.
Praise God.
Yeah. Like I'd have thermostats and stuff in the barn, and you get it stays. It might stay above freezing, maybe. And this was before the self-heating batteries came out and all this kind of stuff. So I ended up having to move everything downstairs into the basement. Not to say that it might not move back there again at some point, but it's got to be
always add on a room and insulate it.
Yeah. I built a shop out in the barn, and that's kind of taking up half of the barn right now. So I don't even know how we got to that, but Jim, yeah. Oh, space. Yeah, I would need a lot of space in order to get that grid boss and flex boss. So Mark has a comment and a question, I guess. My 6000 XP cycle on and off by itself. Signature Solar has me change the settings to lead acid. I have the interior battery from EG4, as if any of us had the same problem. So that's got to be the indoor wall mount battery. But cycling on and off. Any ideas?
So it's just turning off by itself? I mean, I definitely haven't seen that. I haven't had any problems with mine since I got them running. The battery communication thing is the only problem I had when I was initially doing it, just trying to get my LifePower 4 batteries to update. Now, that was a pain there. But once I got that done, those things have just been running. So I don't have no help with that, I guess.
I haven't had that issue either.
But I would definitely go through all your settings, because usually that's most people's problem, I believe, is that something weird got changed. Like just sitting here, I accidentally had the app pulled up and I changed one of my settings on my system. I must have mashed it and it said set. I was like, what did I just do? So I had to go look at it and make sure I didn't mess something up and had to change it back. I'm like, oh my goodness. Shut my power down to my house.
Saying the power went out.
Yeah. It'd be really nice if they would let you export your settings. Do y'all know if that's a thing? Like, can you actually export, like, say, like, this is how I want, to like save these presets, and then we can, come back to them at another point if I mess something up.
So they don't have an export that I
think
know
it does it to like an Excel spreadsheet. Maybe that's about it.
Yeah, they've got the PDF export from the website right here. So if you hit export PDF, it's going to basically take screenshots of all your settings, so you could save that off for reference.
Sure. Yeah, for a while there were a couple things that if you changed, it would go through. If you change one setting, and it would just erase everything. So, and it was the time of use stuff. So, I'd have it all set up so that it would start charging at 9 p.m. from the grid as soon as we started getting our free energy, and then it would, shift everything over, and it's like, it's not that big of a deal. I got to where I could probably do it in 5 minutes, but the first couple times it's like, dude, this is 20 minutes of trying to set this up, and then I would go and I would change a setting, and then all of that would disappear and restart, and I have to go back over. And yeah, I think they've done a lot to make the system better over the last year or so. But yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah, they've done a whole lot of improvements. I'm constantly seeing not only changes from the inverter standpoint, but even from the monitoring platform. They're constantly making improvements and tweaks there. So, for Mark, I guess my only thought would be try to isolate, is it the battery or is it the inverter first? Is the battery completely turning off? Because if that turns off, then your inverter's obviously going to turn off. If you can figure out which one it is between those two first, then that might tell you which path to go down for troubleshooting.
And is it doing it in lead acid?
Yeah, that's a great question if it's still doing it in lead acid. Trying to scroll ahead and see if he's added any other comments for that. I don't see them.
And I would also say that on EG4's website, they have some downloads, and they have a lot of white papers on there, which is when people have certain problems, they'll go and make specific answers to it. And you might want to go in there and look just to see if they have some troubleshooting, and maybe that'll give you some more information or tell you how to set something up specifically. Anybody who has a question about pretty much any of their stuff, they have white papers on it.
Yeah. Jim said he waved. I don't remember what that comment. We've kind of gone off track a lot, so I don't know what the waving was from. But hi, Jim. Bob has he's got one 6000 XP, and I'm assuming he means a 5,000 foot deep well, and a pressure tank, and his unit does fine. Now, that actually brings up a good question. So, Eric, you said you've got a super deep well, right?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of draw is your well putting on your system? I mean, are we talking a 25 amp pull so that one couldn't run it?
No, so it is a 25 amp pull. It's 50 amps, a little over 50 amps of inrush, and I've also got it now. It's 1,000 feet, like on the other side of my property, and then it's 800 feet down. So, well, that's the bottom of the well. It's it's another 500 feet of cable to the well. It's a 5 horse pump, and it kicks on at 50 amps, and then it pulls 25 continuously. And just one of these units will do it with nothing else on it. When it kicks on with the 3 connected, you'll definitely hear it. It spools up. But being a pump that's that large, it fills the pressure tanks really quick. Of course, unless I just have it wide open. But I don't have any problems with it. The lights, they don't flicker, they don't dim, nothing happens. It's great.
Now, I guess one question for both of you, because you both have 3. Do the loads balance across all 3 inverters when you have them in parallel? Or is it kind of one is going to use a little more than the other? Whatever one's closest to your loads panel, that uses the most? Or are you seeing an even balance of power across all 3?
Mine, it's not usually perfectly even, but it's fairly even. I mean, it'll kind of step down just a little bit on some of them, but it's not bad. Not with mine.
Okay.
And I also saw Jim talking about the last thing we're talking about with the 6,000 XP. The guy's 6,000 XP turned off. He said if it's overloading, that'll make it reset too. But I guess we didn't ask him that if he was overloading it. But and then Gavin's on there. Hey, what's going on, Gavin?
Gavin, I've got mine at 5%, 5%, and 8% at the moment. So, I mean,
pretty close.
Yeah, I never see it too far off of that. Now, obviously, the lower it is, it's not really struggling to do anything. But it's usually within 5-10%.
I heard something click in somebody's, huh?
That wasn't me.
I'm just hearing things now. It's 9 o'clock. I'm hearing things.
Oh, that's what happened. Well, no, because it's here.
Grid power.
So, I don't know.
Grid power charging your batteries.
No, but
somebody turned.
It was showing
on.
100. And, that's what happened. Somebody's taking a shower, so it was showing That's about 30% on that one. 47. Oh, I got to go back and forth. Well, actually, shoot, this is 29, 44, and 47. So
Okay.
that is
That's
a
a
bit more
little out
now.
of balance. I mean, not
Yeah,
outrageous.
yeah, 30, 30, 44, and 47. Now, this one does have longer battery cables, so that could have something to do with it.
Okay.
And it is the farthest from the loads panel and everything, so yeah.
I'm scrolling further down, and Bob did say that spell check is fun. So yeah, it was a 500-foot deep well that he was talking about,
Yeah.
and so he can run his no problem. I
Mhm.
know mine. I have no clue how deep mine is. I don't. With where I live, I don't think it's going to be super deep, but it's probably a 2-horse pump pulling 15 to 1800 watts when it kicks on, and it just goes. Let's see here. John said that he's got his 12,000 XP on pre-order, so he's just waiting.
Yeah.
So he's in line with you guys. Old Man's Garage, good to see you. Redneck Tech just got a 6,000. It's not installed yet. Man, if you're like me, that box shows up, and I want to open it up before it even gets in the house.
Yeah, I opened up a
I will
box
say
today
though,
of something I'm making a video of. I was like, oh, I got to do this live stream. I can't play with this.
right? No, but I made the mistake of overcomplicating and overthinking the process, and I let my 6000 EXs sit in the box way too long before just slapping them on the wall. And then I finally did it, and I'm like, why didn't I do this 4 months ago? And I've talked to so many people who are like, oh yeah, I've had them for like a year, and I just I want to make sure I do it right. And it's like, okay, I get that because I was right there, but just start putting it together. You'll realize how quick they go together. Make sure you double check things,
Yep.
whatever. But yeah, don't let it sit in the box forever. They're meant to be used.
Oh, so he's putting it in a schoolie that he's
Oh,
building.
nice. Sweet.
So that's okay. So you
yeah, I
got
saw a question about the alternator.
Is that the same? It was the same person for the alternator question?
I don't remember.
I don't. We got lots of questions. We got lots of people on here. Thank you for again. I see 59 people on the stream right now. So
yeah, that's awesome.
That's fun. I gotta stop scrolling. I keep missing stuff. Yeah, Old Man's Garage is a 6,000 XP new in box that he's going to use as a backup to his 18K. So that's probably kind of like what you were saying, Eric, having, a backup for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a bad idea, though, because even if you do have the 18K, the 6,000 XP is a fairly cheap backup to have.
Yeah, because you never know when something's going to happen crazy, like what happened to Gavin with the lightning. I mean,
yes.
you just never know what's going to happen, and something might get destroyed. And hey, you definitely want to have power, so have a backup.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up. We had a lightning storm. I think it was last week, and it's one of those storms where you're in a deep sleep, and all of a sudden the biggest rumble shakes the entire house, and you see the flash and feel that rumble. And I pull up my phone to look at my weather app, and I'm like, all right, where was that strike at? And there were 2 of them, like right around the house. So as a solar person, you go out the next day and you're looking at all your arrays and everything. You're like, all right, what got hit? Nothing looked like it got hit, but I have that Blue Eddy EP800 on my barn, and there's a big green indicator on the front showing that everything's good. But that day there wasn't a big green indicator on the front. It was bright red.
Ooh.
I'm like, I still have power, so what's going on? And I pull up the app and look, and it says that something about grid phase something. I don't remember what it was. But I think what happened is the grid lines got a little energized from one of those nearby strikes. And that system, it disconnected itself from the grid. So I need to pull a Gavin and buy some of those surge protectors and start installing them everywhere.
Yeah, no joke.
The bad thing is I've had them for months and still don't have them installed.
Yeah, I know I have 4 sitting in a box. I just haven't installed them yet.
I do have one in my primary load panel over here. But it's just an Eaton one that I picked up from Lowe's. So I don't know like how it stacks up against the.
Yeah, I have one of those too, but
shield.
Short it
I
out.
want to put some more stuff.
Oh, okay. Here, give me a screwdriver.
I tell you, those.
I think that's what I got.
Yeah, you got a picture of yours? Let's see here. Where's.
Well,
yeah, there you go.
right
There's
there, hanging off the
Rodney's.
side of my panel, there's a surge protector on there, but I need to put one on the DC side and all the other stuff. So.
Yeah.
Simon waved in the chat. Okay, so the question that we had from Bob regarding 3 6000XPs, when the water heater kicks on, it throws an overload error. He said that Signature Solar looked at all the settings and says that they're correct. So yeah, that's
Then say okay, send me a new one. Hey man,
yeah.
I don't know.
I would definitely look at what we were talking about with making sure they're all set high enough and it's not actually overloading or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I would check that one current setting, and then if that's high enough for all 3, what comes to my mind is, okay, maybe one inverter is telling it all to shut down, so systematically turn one off and try with the other ones and see.
And do you have enough batteries? Like, that's another thing.
Yeah, there you go. That's another. Let's see.
Because if you don't have enough batteries, then it's gonna pull too much current from the 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 that you have. You have to have a certain amount of batteries per inverter. So
he says
I can't remember what it is.
2
per 6000 XP.
He's got 3 6000 XPs with 3 indoor wall mount batteries.
Right, yeah, you should have enough.
I guess it depends on, do you have one battery tied to one inverter, or do you have them tied to one bank, one bus bar that then branches out to each inverter? So all 3 inverters can use all 3 batteries. Because that would probably be another. I mean, from 3, I still wouldn't think you would surge that much, but. Again, we're not the end-all, be-all answers for this stuff. Yeah. We're DIY folks too, so.
And when we get stuff and it just works, we're not messing with it all the time. Like, especially when we're testing other equipment and stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff that I haven't seen, because mine doesn't work. So you find weird problems like with the PV. Like mine wouldn't get the full PV at first, and I was like, "What's going on?" And I had to set the setting higher. It's not automatic and stuff like that. Which this was a year ago, so it might automatically sit now. But, there's weird problems we found, but then you fix it one time and you never touch it again. So look through all the settings again. That's all I can say. Just verify everything.
Yeah.
Because you just never know. There may be something.
And
firmware. Because a lot of times, even with just trying to change the time on these inverters now, I don't understand why it's so hard to change the time. But you got to change it like multiple different places. So maybe it's one of those things where you're changing it on the app, but you got to go on the computer and change it, or got to go right on the inverter. So I'd try to go right on the inverter and change it if it was me.
Yeah, he did say that firmware is up to date, but his battery has newer firmware. But
I don't know where we're at in this chat because I'm trying to find where you're at.
Yeah, just under Bob talking about Signature Solar. ACAM had a question that I'm not, or maybe a comment I'm not real sure about. If you want to pull that up.
This one right here.
Yeah.
So in theory, wouldn't my 50 amp cord from my Generalink work with a 6000? Wouldn't power all 50, but still some loads, correct? I'm assuming you're meaning connecting a 50 amp cable that you use for your generator to the 6000. I mean, it would basically be the same thing as putting a 2000 watt generator on that cable. You just wouldn't be able to supply power to all those loads. You'd have to cherry pick what you want to run.
Yeah, I mean, like each inverter, what you're supposed to put a 40 amp breaker on them. So, I mean, if you got a single inverter, you should be able to, like that 50 amp cord will be more than enough to handle everything from a single inverter. But if you're wanting to do two, then that's a different story. But at that point, you've got to run a different cable each time. So, in fact, that's what I've got. I essentially have, which I know it's not up to code, but that's a different story. That's the, it's a generator cable that I'm using to run into my boxes here. So should work.
Let's see, scrolling through. I knew this one was going to come up. Can I feed a single phase 120 volt generator into the 6000 XP? As long as you have the latest firmware, which I don't know what... That's one thing that I don't care for, is some of the firmware is like CXBW5. That's kind of confusing to me. So it's hard to tell you. You're on inverter 15 or firmware 30, 45, whatever. But the latest from a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Eric.
I'm sorry. Yeah, the lag it's tough. So while we're talking about updating firmware, it's really important to note, I don't understand this, but I believe it was Gavin or maybe you, Rodney. Somebody let me know while I was just banging my head up against the wall trying to get my firmware to update. I started just before sundown. I'm just cruising along. I'm getting one updated, the next updated, the next. There's 3 parts on these 6000 XPs. You've got to update 3 different files, and it made it through the first file. And then the second 2 on the last inverter would not work. Like it just wouldn't, it wouldn't install. And I sat out here for hours, just like, I'm typing in the chat with these guys. I'm just like, what is going on? And someone's just like, well, you have to have PV in order to install the firmware. What? That doesn't make any sense. Why do you have, I've got batteries, I've got, grid power, but the sun just set, and that's when the update stopped working. And sure enough, the next morning I had dappled light coming through the trees on a cloudy day, and I tried the update at 6 a.m. and the darn thing worked. It's just I don't understand why. That makes 0 sense at all. But if you don't
that
have...
was Gavin. That was Gavin on that one.
Yeah,
okay.
He told me that one too.
So if it keeps failing over and over, make sure you've got PV.
there's what, 3 different firmware files to get updated, and one of them says MPPT on it, and that's the one that won't update if there's no PV coming in. I don't know why, like you, because I've tried it before and it was the exact same thing, and he was the guy that told me you gotta have it's gotta have some power for something. Maybe the whole circuit board inside goes to sleep as some power saver.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so.
It's the only thing that comes to mind.
Yeah.
All right.
But also while we're right here on this comment, it's my understanding, it might not be true because I haven't tested it, but if you're doing just split phase 120 volts, it will only power one leg of your inverter. Is that still the case? Okay.
Yep.
So,
actually,
you want to speak to that?
Yeah. Let me switch over to this display here real fast. So
nice.
I actually mocked this one up because I had a feeling that it was going to come up. So hopefully, as I step away from the microphone, you can still hear me. But I wired in one line into my generator port, and it's only 120 volts. I'll turn my inverter on, because right now it was off. And I'm going to open or close the generator breaker. This is probably a whole lot more technical for the live stream than most would expect, but I don't know. I like the technical types of stuff. So, can you see right here, there's only one black line going into this generator port?
Yeah, you see it all right.
Yeah.
Okay, because I can't see it across the room. So if we check the voltage, I've got 111 volts right now. It's actually plugged into one of my little power stations. So on leg 2, there's nothing there. This breaker right here is the load output breaker of the inverter. So if I go from the neutral to leg 1, it's passing the exact voltage from the generator to the load output. If I go over to leg 2, there's nothing there because there's nothing on the generator for leg 2. So it does not split the 120 volts and make 240 on your output. So you're limited if you do that. I mean, it's a nice little feature if you've only got a 120 volt generator. But it does limit you to only having 120 volt output on leg 1.
Yeah. So that's why that plus the potential wear and tear on your inverter, I say just get a charge inverter. But in a pinch, it works.
Yeah, charge your batteries directly, because then you're not having to worry about limiting stuff. So thank you for asking that question, because I had all that stuff mocked up for it.
You're ready.
Oh. Jumping. Lots of names, lots of folks.
And you got a super chat too. I don't know if you saw that. If you got down to that yet.
Oh, well, let me...
A-Cam.
Yeah, thank you very much for that super chat. Appreciate it. I'm still trying to learn all this fancy live stream stuff that Eric and Rodney got me hooked on.
Oh, yeah. Everybody's got to have a turn at the buttons.
Let's see here. All right. Still going down.
So Bob said he changed his discharge setting and ran his hot water heater, and it didn't kick out. So he
Awesome.
said, thanks for the fix.
Awesome. That's great to hear.
So we got one thing done tonight for sure.
One thing. We fixed one problem on this live stream. That's great.
If we save just one water heater, it's worth it.
Hey, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if we can save somebody from being frustrated, I mean, it makes it all worth it, because
we've
probably all been there and done it. I see Bill asked about the 120 volts, so hopefully that helps with that. On firmware updates, let's see here. This might be interesting, because I know a lot of folks use Solar Assistant. On firmware updates, if you use Solar Assistant, be sure to turn it off before you start your updates. Otherwise, the content polling of the inverter will cause a problem when updating. I didn't know that. Do you guys use Solar Assistant on your setups?
No.
I used to use it back when I had my 6000 EXs, and then I guess something got messed up on it. I've still got it over here on the Orange Pi, but I can't log in. I can't figure out how to factory reset or anything. So I have no idea what to do with it, and I just haven't spent the time to figure it out. I would love to get it back up because I really liked it. But the main reason I had it was so that I could do time of use to get the free energy to charge the batteries at night, which as soon as it was built into the 6000 XP, it's like, well, you know, I guess I don't really need that feature, and so I just haven't dealt with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I used it with the grow watts when I had those at first, just because the grow watt stuff was terrible. But once I got the EG4 stuff, I just said, this is good enough for me. I'm not doing, time of use or any of that kind of stuff. It's just off grid only. I just want to be able to track all the data, and so it does what I needed to do. There are definitely some things about the EG4 monitoring software, app, whatever you want to call it, that I wish they would add, but it just is what it is. They're working on it, I guess, over time.
I mean, it's night and day compared to the Watch Power app that we had for the old stuff.
Oh, that was terrible. That was terrible. But that's one of the things about all these units. And I had somebody really not happy with one of my latest videos. And I've got this all powers unit right here that I reviewed that got a ton of hate, right? I mean, it was just ripped to shreds by another channel, and I felt like it was unjustly done. And it was user error, but then they're accusing the company of malpractice. Now, they do have some lemons, but as we've talked about, man, even EG4 does too. But we all still love EG4, and they're putting out, really inexpensive products, and they're getting better and better with time. And it's like we've got to, help support these brands. I'm not saying go spend your money with all powers, but everybody starts somewhere. And I mean, I remember Blue Eddy having tons of issues early on. Their units were kind of terrible at first. So I don't know. It's if you get a bad one, hopefully you've got good customer service and you can get it fixed. But that's kind of the way I see it. If we want inexpensive solar that we can all afford, we got to have these companies that are pushing the envelope to make it inexpensive, but working through bugs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I got one of those units sitting right here, and it works fine. The all powers. I like Anchor stuff better myself, but the all powers, the only thing I didn't like about it is it doesn't turn off automatically to save power. Mine just stays on all the time, and it'll just drain the battery down. So the Anchor stuff, it'll turn off. So you can turn that on and off as well.
Yeah, I actually sent my all powers down to your neck of the woods, Rodney. My brother-in-law was heading down there with a bunch of supplies, and so I sent that down there with one of their solar panels so that folks could have power. Because it's a power station.
Yeah, Average Joe took a bunch of stuff to North Carolina, I know, about a week ago or so. So
he mentioned he might have to take another one. But yeah, with the the solar assistant, I didn't know that. I've used it and connected it to different devices before, but I don't think I've actually had it connected to a 6000 XP when I went to do an update. So that's something good to keep in mind. So Redneck Tech is, I see going back and forth a couple of times, especially with Jim. So yeah, Jim, thanks for going back and forth with him. But he's asking about alternator charging in his schoolie with 6000 XP. And I haven't done anything like that before. Have you guys?
I mean, if it's putting out good DC power, I don't know.
You should be able to use a DC to DC converter, right?
I would think you'd have to have some kind of a DC to DC converter, but then you're going from 12 volts, so you'd have to have something to step it up to the 48.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
It'd be like,
yeah, because I don't think you can't do it
or whatever
straight.
it is.
You can't do it straight without some kind of a converter, because you've got the revving of the alternator. That's going to make the voltage go up and down, and that could do really wonky things.
You know, I know they make specific like MPPTs for wind versus, PV. And I imagine the wind side of things, using a dedicated MPPT from a, on the wind side would be the place to start looking, and then have that charge your batteries. That's just a guess. Never dealt with it.
I know that Blue Eddy just came out with some new charger specifically designed to charge off of like the car battery alternator aspect. And it's actually supposed to be somewhat smart to where when the car turns off, it turns itself off and doesn't start outputting power, so you can't kill your battery. So that might be something to look at. I don't remember if you can program your voltage. Maybe.
I think it does, because it need to go into the solar of some of their solar generators. So you would think that it would go into 50s. So I'm pretty sure it was adjustable, but I don't know. I did watch a video on it, but I can't remember. I think it is adjustable though.
I don't remember the channel that I saw that on. The one that keeps coming to mind is yours, Eric, but I know you didn't do it.
Nope.
Yeah, I can't remember who I watched. I can't remember the video. I think it was somebody new I had never watched before.
Yeah. Oh, so we reminded somebody to pull their 6000 XP out of the box.
Bam.
So, hey, that's great.
Gotta go ahead and get
we
started.
opened just one box. It was worth it.
Woo! We got a water heater fixed, and we got a box opened.
And some amperage change. Oh, that's the water heater. Just kidding.
All right, so here's a question.
Got a lot of questions in there.
ACAM has a question again. So I've got a Pecron 3600. That's a portable power station that I'm returning after doing more research, but I'm torn between the 6000 or the new 12,000 XP. If you were starting new, what would you go with? I'm going to let you guys start off on that one.
I would get one of them.
two 12,000s. That's it.
Two 12,000s.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I personally would do two 6,000s. Just because some of the biggest advantages are like how much solar you can put into it, and at this point I'm not planning on putting that much in. That's a huge deal. It has I think it has better peak performance, but I like redundancies. It's like flowing through my veins. It's just the concept of redundancy.
Yeah, I like the 12,000 XP specs, but like I said, if I was doing it, I would get two of them, like for the same reasons. I don't want to be running one day and then something happen and I can't run my house. So, I just want to be ready as much as possible for all situations. So that's always my goal.
Yeah, redundancy is definitely important, because you never know. I mean, we've even talked about it, even on this stream, that sometimes weird things just happen, and if you have to send one unit back, at least you got one to run at least part of your stuff. You always gotta. What's the saying? Plan for the worst, hope for the best.
Yep.
Hope for the best, plan for the. Yeah, hope for the best, plan for the worst.
That's it.
I'm like, it didn't sound right to me. I don't know that I could answer this question just because I haven't looked at any of the specs on the 12,000 XP. I'm waiting for one of these big YouTubers, wait, wrong way, to
I know y'all ain't talking about me.
Have their
y'all
reviews done.
More than twice as big as mine, so it ain't me. About 3 times as big as mine, I guess, really.
Oh, okay. Color maker. Is it possible to monitor the total VP generation per day for each PV input on the 6000 XP? Is that...
Yeah, you can look at all the data for each input.
Does it track the voltage on your panels? Is that what he's asking?
Yes.
You got something to show?
Yeah. Yeah, we can show it. So, you can just go on here and you can see what your voltage was during the day, if that's what he's talking about.
Okay.
I'm not absolutely sure, but I mean, you can look on whatever MPPT you want to look at, whatever inverter, you can change it and see, got 275, 273 over here. Then on this one, I got 180 something because I have a different, setup. So each one, you can look at it individually, look at the voltage, you can look at the watts, coming in. So it's got all the information.
I see he says type PV. A little further down in the chat. So I'm still not... Maybe it's because it's 9:30, but something's not clicking up here right now. So we'll maybe you can explain a little bit more about what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And we can come back to that.
Yeah.
Oh, typo. Let's see here. Jumping. Somebody mentioned DC to DC converters. Victron has a DC to DC converter. All right, Nature Adventure Man. What is the life expectancy of a 6000 XP? He's got a 3000 that's been running for 24/7 for over a year. And he's hoping that it's going to last a long time, at least for return on investment.
I really think it depends on how you take care of them myself. I mean, the 6000 XPs are going to be indoors. They got a 5-year warranty, so it's going to be longer than 5 years most of the time. So I think I could double that at least. But I guess if you take care of your stuff and keep it dust free and, just do your normal little maintenance, which isn't much, but I think they'll last for a long time.
And of course, it depends on if you watch that one channel that says everything that's not a low frequency inverter is going to fall apart immediately and burn up and kill your children.
Hey, does that guy still comment on y'all's channel all the time? Man, he says that all the time. I'm like, look, man, we can't all afford that. I mean, we gotta go high frequency, man. Come on.
Yeah, because you guys have both had yours running for at least a year, right?
I've had mine running for a year. Like I said, over 20 megawatts.
I know I was late. I was really late to the game on picking mine up. But yeah, I mean, the only maintenance you have on those things is check those dust filters. Check them once a month. I mean, depending on where you... even in my utility room down here, which the only dust movement is me moving stuff around, I can see those things getting disgusting. So set an alarm on your phone, set a reminder, whatever, but clean them once a month. Your inverter will be happy, and it should last a whole lot longer for you.
Any good primer videos on how to set up AC coupling? That's the thing. I looked all over the place. I'm like, I just want to see somebody do something with it so I even understand what it's supposed to do. I couldn't find anything.
I know that I've seen Andy from the Off-Grid Garage do some stuff with the Fronius, but that's more of an integration. He was integrating his PV inverter directly into his Victron system. Who was it? Somebody. Man, my brain's just not working right now. I know I've seen a couple of them that have talked about simple cost savings just from small micro inverters.
That's cool.
Yeah, I ran out of coffee about an hour ago.
Yeah, I haven't had my coffee. Redneck Tech wants to know if Eric was in the military.
No, I was not. My dad was. He's a commander in the Navy. But nope, not me.
I'll ask the question. Rodney, you?
Yes. Oh. I was in the Army for 7 years, 3 months, and 3 days.
Thank you for your service.
Oh yeah. I was in from 98 to 2005. Yeah.
Okay.
So I went to Iraq and all that nonsense.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't been in the military, but I've got... My father was a colonel in the Army. I've got a brother, captain in the Army. I've got cousins and other brother-in-laws in Marines, Navy, Air Force, all over the place. But I hate it when people ask this question. I really do. Would I replace my Victron system with the 6,000 or the 12,000?
Because everybody knows Victron's better. At least that's what my comments are.
Honestly, I would have to look at what I'm trying to do. So if I'm looking at it from my house standpoint, Victrons, you can't beat their idle consumption, and you can't beat their surge capability. But you can beat their price tag. And the dollar speaks a lot.
And that's the thing with the EG4 is, just what you get for the cost. There's still people on my last stream saying the stuff was expensive. And I understand it is for a lot of people. But for what you're getting versus a few years ago, it's amazing. I mean, you're getting stuff that only Solar had a few years ago for way less money. So to me, it's definitely worth it if you just have to save up to get what you need. But for budget and good, EG4 is the way to go, in my opinion.
Yeah. And another thought on that is, like, how many, for the same price, you could get your system set up and then stick a couple of them in a Faraday cage and bury it if you wanted to go that route. I mean, like, I'm not the kind of guy who's going to do that, but some of these smaller units, you better believe they're going to
sure
and bury here sooner or later. But yeah, for the price, I mean, it's like we've gone from 5 years ago. If you wanted to have a system anywhere close to what we have back here, first off, and maybe 5 years, 10 years ago, for sure, you had to pay somebody else to do it, number one. And you're going to be looking at $50,000, $100,000, and your return on investment is never. Like, I'm not suggesting you go take out a loan or anything like that, but I will say that we did take out a loan because I was looking at going, I've got a $300 to $500 electric bill every month, and I can take out a personal loan for 5 years and buy all the equipment I need and have that paid for and then some, and I can have my return on investment in like 3 years. So, and then you don't have your electric bill. So that's what started it with us. It's just like, we're tired of paying this, and we're tired of not having water when the power goes out.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I get asked a lot. Would I replace my Victron system with, and then fill in the blank? And my answer is almost always, I don't know.
I guess the question would be, if you were going to start from scratch and you had nothing, would you buy Victron or a 6,000 or a 12,000 or fill in the blank?
Yeah, and honestly, you have to look at it from each individual. Where are you in life? Because obviously, we're not making tons of money. None of us are making tons of money. The dollar is, it speaks, and it yells, really. I mean, that dollar figure really does. The one, well, I can't say the one, but one big benefit to a Victron system, aside from like the surging and the idle consumption, it does kind of tie into what you were saying earlier, Eric, of having redundancy. A component-based system, if one component fails, you're not in a lurch.
Yeah.
If an all-in-one has one failure, the system goes down. That's where you're having to buy the second or the third. So from the component-based system, there is that point, but you have to look at it, is it worth it to you that much? I will say it is bulletproof. I have done a lot to that system, and I have not been able to kill it. Some things that I really wouldn't really want to test against some of the other inverters that I've worked with. But would I replace it one with the other? I don't know. I know most people, everybody hates it when I say that, but I don't know.
I think that's a good, honest answer. And there is a lot to be said for the redundancy of the component-based system, like you said. I choose to put my redundancy in multiple all-in-ones. If I were going to start over and budget wasn't an issue, I think I'd probably like playing with Victron. I did go to a Victron event and built out a system over 2 days and learned a lot, and it was incredible. But they were honest, and they were like, look, sometimes we have lemons too. Like it happens. So just because you buy blue doesn't mean you're going to, get an out-of-the-box system that an out-of-the-box is giant air quotes. I mean, it took us a long time to build that system. And then troubleshooting it and figuring it out. Like, you can hang one of these on the wall, connect it to a wall mount battery, hook up your loads, and be done. Like, honestly, I don't know about you guys, right? But I could probably, if I wasn't filming the whole thing, I could probably be done in an hour and a half. With this whole system back here, because I've done it 3 times. It's not that big of a deal. Victron's a bit of a different story.
Yeah.
I definitely like the all-in-ones just because it seems like there's less wiring and things to think about, I guess. So, I mean, either way, whatever works for somebody, I say go out and do it. That's the most important thing, is becoming more self-sufficient. I don't care how you do it. I don't care how much money you spend, less, more. I just want people to go out there and do it, because somebody's more prepared than when stuff happens like here in North Carolina and other places. I understand if you get your whole home swept away, there ain't nothing you can do. But if you're just out of power, like some people have been for weeks or months, and it's just because the power pole went down, hey, you'll be able to take care of yourself. If you can take care of yourself, you'll be able to help out other people in your community, because you're not going to be able to help anybody if you're worried about yourself and your family. So, you need to take care of them first, because that's who's most important. And then you can go out there and help out other people, because I know we all want to go help out other people during emergencies, but you're not always going to be able to do that if you're not able to take care of yourself. So,
yep. Let's see here. This might get into the question that you get a lot, Eric, with wiring. I have a grid-powered panel and a second panel for my loads. Should these share a neutral, or do I disconnect it? I connected L1 and L2, but couldn't charge the batteries without the neutral with two 6000 XPs. Now, I'll put out, before we even get into this, I don't know about you guys, but I am not a licensed electrician. So I'm going to preface that AC work with that.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I can tell you what I've done. And let's see. Let me reread the question for just a second. A grid power panel. Should these share a neutral, or do I disconnect it? When you say share a neutral, like are you saying if you've got? I disconnected this this camera, so let me see if I can spin this around. Oh, it's this camera over here. Hold on a second. I don't know how well this is going to work. Are we doing anything?
Nope.
You can't see me, can you?
Nope.
I see blur.
I see a blurry hand, I think is what I'm seeing.
And it's froze.
That's weird. It's froze. Well, now you see me holding my camera. That's fun. Oh, you still don't see anything, do you?
There we go.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
oh, there we go.
That's the camera. But let me try this one more time. Hey, Rodney has fireworks.
Oh, I can't help myself.
Oh my gosh, it's not working.
It froze again.
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Oh.
You might have to change.
Yeah,
where
here,
it's
wait,
just
let me
showing
go.
my
To full
screen.
There we go.
Okay, so I've got these two panels right here, and like I'm trying to think. So the one on the right is my AC in, and the one on the left is my AC out that feeds to the house and everything. I believe those two do share a neutral, because the 6000 XPs, whenever I tried to go in and actually like check it all out, I believe there was continuity between the neutral on the grid in and the neutral on the grid out, so the grid and the load. Actually, no, because one of y'all can open up your deal. It's a single neutral bar, right?
Yeah, it's got a common neutral.
Yeah, it's a common neutral. So yes.
Yeah.
All right, go back over here. I'm holding it doing self-esteem. I don't know if that answered the question. I feel ridiculous. I'm gonna walk it over here now.
So yeah, you'd have your neutral come from your grid panel into your 6000 XP, and then from your 6000 XP out to your critical loads panel.
Yes.
Yep.
You probably would not want a neutral from the grid panel directly to the critical loads panel. You would want to route it through your inverter and then back out. Again, we're getting into that. We're getting into that electrician.
Yeah, you have to have the neutral connected.
But yes, you have
to have the neutral connected. Sorry, little slow. We're all a little sleep deprived for various reasons.
Yeah.
No coffee on the table. Sorry.
Trying to jump.
Yeah, there's so many
I'm
questions.
trying not to skip some questions, but I'm trying to get close to the end here. You guys, where am I?
I do want to say, Warnick Family Farms is asking Rodney how much heat do the 3 inverters create in your building. Rodney, you want to go for that real quick?
None really, because I have an air conditioner on it, so I'm not. It doesn't seem like a ton. I mean, but I have an air conditioner right there, so I mean that's probably why. But I mean, they do get a little warm if you stick your hand in between them, but it's not a ton. I guess in the winter, if you got the air off and you're trying to heat the building up, I guess it could heat it up just a little bit. But
yeah, one thing that in this real small room that I did struggle with a bit was that, like, when it was just an open barn, the heat from these would kind of go across, and then it was just real drafty, and they'd just leak out. But then I insulated this room, and then it's only 18 by 9 room, mostly insulated, and it does heat up pretty good. I do have an air conditioner over here. If the AC stops working or turns off for some reason, it gets pretty warm in here. So they put off heat, no doubt. They put off a lot of heat. I don't think I'm going to have to worry about heating it this winter.
How cold does it get for you guys?
Oh, freezing. Like we'll drop down in the nights to like low 50s.
Freezing.
I would say normally it probably gets down in the 30s, but in the last few years, I mean, we've had like a week here and there where it's down in the teens or whatever. So there's times it gets cold.
We have we have cold nights on occasion,
but it's not all year like you.
Yeah.
No.
I think this is the first time this question's come up, and I'll ask it just in case, because we don't need to answer it multiple times. But this is kind of your guys' thoughts on should somebody wait for the Flex Boss and the Grid Boss combination? Should they go with the 6000 XP or the 12,000 XP? And I know that 2 of them aren't even out yet, so
they're all pre-ordered, 3 of them.
Yeah.
So I would say it all depends on your situation and what you're actually trying to do. So if you're just going to be doing completely off-grid stuff, and I would say the 6000 XP or the 12,000 XP will be the best option. If you're trying to do weird stuff like you have AC coupling and you're trying to sell back to the grid and all that kind of stuff, and you got an EV and you're trying to charge that thing when you have extra power, I'd go with the Flex Boss and the Grid Boss combo. I think that thing's going to be awesome for that kind of situation. And the little specialty things people want to do with selling back and using power from multiple different places. So it just depends on your actual situation.
And I will say that, all of this, like all the panels, the extra, like the load panel and the AC in panel and all that, each one of those panels, those are, $200 a pop or whatever. Then all the breakers and everything, and then the way that I did this is I had 300 feet of underground power from my meter to my house, and I dug it up, spliced into it, and then ran a loop into my barn, and then came up into one of these panels and then back out and then back into the house. It's just a mess. And all of that, I think, could have been saved by just having the Grid Boss. I think. I haven't really spent a lot of time because I'm not going to buy one anytime soon. So I haven't spent a ton of time looking at it. But if you've got a complex setup, and having just a single AC wire that runs to from the Flex Boss to the Grid Boss. You can have multiple Flex Bosses lined up if you need, but just a single wire that ends up going to the Grid Boss. And it can be on the other side of your property. That adds a lot of flexibility. So I don't know, if you've got a complex setup, it might be worth it. But if you are, you've got something that you can easily tap into your electricity and run things around, I'm still pretty bullish on the 6000. It's pretty old at this point, but I think it's still one of the top contenders.
And for the price, I mean, you can't beat it for the price. So
it's sad to think of something that's a year and a half old as being how old as it is.
Yeah.
But I think it does come back to really your use case too. Even when you throw like the 18K PV in to that mix, if you're looking for grid interactive features to where you're trying to sell back, you'll want to look at a hybrid system. If you're not doing any of that stuff, you can easily save some money and look at a strictly off-grid system. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't still use power from the grid to supplement those days where you don't have solar, it's all rainy and stuff. You can still connect to it, but you're not having features that you'll never use.
So it looks like he's trying to do a whole home backup system and no selling back to the grid. That's what he said.
Okay.
So yeah, I would say the 6000 XPs or even the 12,000.
Yeah.
Just depending on what you want to get, but the 6000s are the best deal, depending on how big you're making your system.
But space is also a consideration, right? I mean, you can stack two of those, or one 12,000. It's not a whole lot wider space. It's a little bit taller. If you don't have the room for, 3 or 4 6,000s, two 12,000s would do you real good.
I know I missed them as I was reading through the comments, but I'll just make a blanket statement right now. For those of you that are in the live stream or in the comments right now that have served our country, thank you very much for your service. Because I know I have seen several of you come out and say, that you were in this branch of the military or that branch. So thank you very much for your sacrifice and for your family's sacrifice in serving our country.
Thank you.
I know we're getting really close to 10 o'clock. I'll ask this last question, and then we'll probably look at wrapping it up here because we're all kind of coffeeless right now. But somebody was Bert was asking how many times. Oh, that wasn't the one that I wanted. Where was it? Because it was somebody else. Running a we can do this one and the other one. They're kind of hand in hand. But do you guys run a generator at all for any of your setup? Rodney, you said you don't have grid at all. So do you ever run a generator for your stuff?
No. I have grid power. I'm just saying I don't have grid power going into my inverters. Basically, I would just have to turn my solar off to part of my house, and I run my main grid going to the main part of my house if I need it. But so yeah, I do have grid power, but I don't ever have to use a generator unless like the power went out and we had a hurricane or something crazy happen. But I do have generators now.
Yeah,
gotta have those too.
Yeah, and Eric, you said that you've got grid power, so you'd be just supplementing with that. And
I've got grid power, so it's just when man, we had multi-day power outages. I think 3 or 4, maybe even 5 times this spring. It's like it just, every other week we were out for a couple of days. Had no idea for the most part. Just get the little app notification, your power's out, which is so awesome. Like just being able to cruise through it where everyone else is completely losing their minds. A couple times I had to run my generator for a day or two. Just to charge things up.
Okay.
Yep. It works great.
Yeah, I think we had a power outage that was 4 or 5 days this summer. And I used my generator and chargeverter to charge a separate battery, which then I introduced into my main battery bank. But I don't normally use a generator to recharge because I have that grid connection. I don't charge from the grid because it's too expensive. I let the batteries just sit until the sun comes up the next day, and that recharges it, and then it'll switch back to the grid, to the battery, once it gets 10% above whatever my set state charge is.
Nice. I do want to reiterate what I'm seeing in the chat a couple times. Yes, so your neutral is only going to, or you're going to get neutral from both, but you only have one neutral ground bond, and that's where in your panel you've got your neutral and your ground connected together, usually with a screw, sometimes with a band, and that's only going to happen one time, and that's usually up by your meter. And then you have to turn that feature off if it's, I don't remember if it defaults to on or defaults to off on the 6000 XPs, but that is a mechanical thing that can happen with a setting as well. So, yeah, just want to reiterate that for those who aren't seeing the chat.
Yeah, this was the one that I was looking at. Now that it's November up north, we're getting less solar. How do you work with a loss of 30%, 40% of solar?
You can just get more panels if that's what you want to do. I mean, you just have to over panel your needs, I guess, but just depends on your setup and how much room you have, really.
Yeah, if you're in a spot like Eric where you have those cheaper electric rates, where you can utilize that to recharge your batteries.
Free's nice.
Yeah, you can't beat that.
You can't.
I know in my case, it's also having that grid connection gives you the ability to start smaller on your system and grow it, because you know that you can't fork out 15, 20 grand on as many panels and as many batteries as you would need, maybe even not as many inverters as you would need to run your whole house. But you can program that inverter to say, okay, once it gets down to 30% on my battery, switch over to the grid. Let it use grid power, and then once it gets up to 40, then it switches back. You're still going to fall back to that grid connection when you need it, but when you have enough capacity, you can run your loads off of your batteries and off of your solar.
Yeah. And for those who've missed it, because I know there's 50 on here, and I know some have come and some have gone. So I would say, like, if you can start with A6000 XP and a wall mount battery, depending on how much electricity you use, that might not be enough. Like if your family is the size of Rodney's, but figure out what your minimum is, and then like if you live in a state that allows you to get a free night's plan, and I'm going to be doing plug it again. I'll be doing a video on this at some point soon, so make sure you go over and subscribe. But you can have for like $10,000 or less, you can have a system that charges for free at night, and you don't even have to have solar panels. Like that's just the craziest thing about it. I don't have any solar panels that are functioning right now because I've got them tore up in different places, and it's like I'm still running off of this thing here, and actually they just started charging. So yeah, they're charging up right now for free. And it's such a fun thing. So yeah. Sorry. But I pay through the nose if I have to use it during the day though.
Yeah.
But it's a great place to start.
So to answer your question, as I'm up north in Michigan, I do find myself with the lack of sunlight, I am on the grid more than I want to be. But still having that system, when that capacity on my batteries gets high enough, even if it takes 2, 3, 4 days to recharge it, I can still have that day and a half where I'm running off batteries. So it's saving a day and a half worth instead of me just always having to pay grid fees. And I will say, especially where I'm at right now, I actually want snow. I mean, most people say, snow, cold, blah, blah, you don't want it. But the reflective light that you get from that white snow helps recharge my solar panel, helps recharge my batteries a little bit more with that reflective light than I would get if it was just all brown and cloudy, gloomy.
Somebody just said, hopefully in 10 years we'll be able to buy a tiny nuclear reactor from Secret Solar.
Nice.
Oh, man, that's funny.
So I feel like an idiot. I just realized that the reason these things were so loud at 8 o'clock is because freaking daylight savings time, and I haven't changed it on here. And so I've been charging an hour ahead of time, essentially.
Oh, no.
So you had to pay for that.
So you're paying for that.
Oh.
All right, so you want to show everybody how to change the date and time for daylight savings time?
Yeah, Rodney, you got that on? It's super simple. I'm glad they made it easy now instead of having to go in and change things.
It's just a button now, right?
Yeah, it's just a button. I don't have it available at the moment.
You got Rodney?
I know where it is in the app. I'm using my phone.
The 6000 XPs aren't in here with me, so let me see if I can monitor it. Hold on a minute. Let's see here.
So, station, dongles.
It's on here somewhere.
It's under overview, right?
Let's see here. Is it an overview?
I know where it is in the app. I just don't know where it is in here.
I thought it was under maintenance. It's not under there? Let's see here. Time. Yeah, I might have to go into app and do it. I'm not sure.
Okay, so go to configuration and then stations and then click on your station name. Shoot, I just lost it.
So let's see. Go to edit. Hold on, daylight saving time. Here it is. Well, yeah, how do I change it? I gotta edit it, I guess. Hold on. All right, there we go. Daylight savings time. Let's see here. So I guess just change it right here with the daylight savings time yes and no feature.
Hopefully,
dang, where'd you find that? There's a station.
Yeah.
Station and then edit.
So
station,
basically,
edit,
just went
there
to
it is. Daylight savings time. No
stations
update,
and then edit.
Oh my gosh, I've been paying for energy for however long it's been since daylight savings time.
Oh,
kills me.
And you wouldn't have. See, look, we saved another one.
Yeah, if it's just one moocher, just one moocher saved. Oh man, dang. Okay. At 8%.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think being a little over 2 hours long, I think we'll end up looking at wrapping this thing up. I know that both of you have discount codes for Signature Solar. You want to just drop both of those in the chat so that everybody can fight over whose code they're going to use?
I'll just let Eric do his. Go ahead.
Oh man, now I feel bad about that now.
So both of these discount codes will get you $50 off.
Oh, Jim put mine in there. That wasn't
Signature
me.
Solar.
Nice. There we go. Rodney Hunt 50.
So we've got those discount codes there, and I did want to share. I'm going to jump over to wherever my screen share is here. I'm going to jump
Everybody's
over
saying thank you for taking the time tonight. Hey, I want to thank everybody that was on the stream because, without you guys, we wouldn't be here talking. I guess we could just talk to each other, but it might be a little boring after a while. Definitely appreciate everybody that came.
For the questions. Thank you for jumping on. I mean, 50, I think I saw like 65 people on at one time, so that's awesome to see. So I'm going to show you here real fast over at Current Connected site. They have a little thing going on that a lot of people might not know about. If you have a website account with them, then most things on their site are going to show at a discounted price. So at Current Connected, a 6000 XP is $1309.40 when I believe the normal price is $1399. Unfortunately, right now, we see this, which we're probably going to see in a lot of different places, available on back order because the 6000 XP is extremely popular. I did get word that they do have, I think, like 150 on a truck heading their way right now, though. So I did want to share that. So you've got your options for Signature Solar. You've got options here at Current Connected for your 6000 XP as well. I did want to jump and do one more plug for Rodney Hunt's channel. You can search at Rodney Hunt on YouTube for his channel. He does have a lot of videos regarding his 6000 XP and also other different things like the 12K PV that he's been testing. And I think we heard a plug at he's getting a 6000 XP, or your name is on the list for it?
Yeah, the 12,000. Yep, you can get one of them.
And then Eric. Also, over here, Eric's East Texas Homestead. Got a lot of videos. Oh, I didn't even see you had a video that dropped today. Where was I at?
Oh, you were preparing for this.
But a lot of different videos, and actually he does something that I really need to look at doing and grouping a lot of these videos together. You're much more prepared than I am on a lot of this stuff. But that's part of your channel, right? Homesteading, yep. Being prepared, taking care of a lot. So make sure if you're not subscribers of either of their channels that you jump on over there. Tell them you saw them on the live stream. I know that would
and I do have a question for everybody out there. Would everybody be interested in us doing this kind of thing every week? You know, do a weekly stream maybe. We can pick a day like Thursday like we've been doing, you know, talk to the audience, I guess. If you guys are interested in that, maybe we'll try to do this more often. I know we've skipped a little bit here and there, but if we can get our schedules linked up, maybe we can do a few more live streams.
Sure. Yeah, we can rotate them through. I mean, even if it's every couple of weeks, a little more scheduled. I guess drop it in the comments if that's something that would be interesting to you, or even give us ideas on a topic. I mean, we're just DIYers like you guys. But if we've learned something through all of the different experiences that we've had, we'd love to share it with you guys. So
absolutely. Hey, Adam, man, thank you so much for having us on here. It's always fun. Love hanging out with you guys.
Oh yeah.
One day we'll do it in person.
Well, that'd be fun.
Have to have a huge deal. Y'all can all come down to Texas where it's nice and warm. And get rid of some of
North Carolina. Come on out here. Oh, that's funny.
It'd be good.
For bringing me on. This has definitely been fun.
So yeah, let me have each of you guys close it out, and then I'll wrap up at the end. So Eric, let me just hand it over to you real fast. Let you close it out, and then Rodney, and then I'll finish it up.
Yeah, great. So you guys, thank you so much. This has been fun. If you want to learn more about things that we do, Adam just showed you a kind of a brief overview of my page. We've been doing homesteading stuff for a really long time. We talk about goats. We talk about comfrey. We talk about gardening. I just dropped one on harvesting and trying to figure out what turkey tail mushrooms actually look like, because it can be deceiving. So it's a wide variety of things, not just solar. About to drop some stuff on refillable propane tanks and the buddy heaters. everybody loves the buddy heaters. I just picked up one of the little buddies because I've never seen anyone talk about one. I think they're pretty cool. So we've got a lot of fun stuff going on. If you're into that sort of thing, come on over, like and subscribe. And also, if you haven't smashed the like button on this stream, do it right now. And I appreciate it. Thank you guys. We love you. We'll see you later.
All right, Rodney, over to you.
All right, Adam, thanks for bringing me on. Eric, you as well. And hey, everybody go subscribe. If you're not subscribed to Eric's channel, it helps us out when y'all go subscribe, watch the videos, use our links, all that kind of stuff. So we definitely appreciate it. And if you're interested in any kind of solar stuff, I got a lot of stuff that's going to be coming out soon. I know I haven't put out a lot of videos lately. Had a lot of family stuff going on. Wasn't able to put out any videos, but I have did a couple of live streams. But I'm going to be doing more stuff on solar and more preparedness type things. And if you're interested in any of that, hey, you can go subscribe to the channel. And of course, I definitely appreciate everybody that's been here in the stream tonight. And everybody, all the veterans out there, hey, thank you for your service. You know, because I know I'm not the only one. There's a ton of us out there. So definitely thank you for that.
All right, guys. It's been fun. Appreciate you guys being on. Thank you again to everybody on the channel. Thank you for sticking around. Man, 46 still on the stream. It's been a fun night. So with that, I'm going to let y'all go. Y'all stay safe, stay cool, and we'll catch up with you later.